Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! I was working as a shift manager for Pizza Hut, small town and declining store. We had a policy to give it away. Anything wrong, then we gotta give him whatever we wanted for free. Orders from the owner. Now, I was in the running for the store assistant position, so I was getting trained for it, learning to order inventory, submit financials, set up shifts, and so on. Honestly, it was a great gig. I made it a point, though, to only do giveaways to things that were logical, messed up pizza, and so on, because frankly, we were hemorrhaging money from them. Well, being in a small town at the only cheap pizza place made us short-staffed. No problem for me since I do any of the work needed right beside any of my staff. Well, one night it's busy dinner time and some event is going on. Baseball game, tractor show, or some country thing. So we are swamped. Phones ringing off the hook, oven backed up by 6 or more pizzas. Yes, we could make them, but we couldn't speed up the oven. So one of the waitresses picks up one of the phones while running like chicken. Serious props to all my staff. She starts her greeting while serving customers at the till. Lady on the phone interrupts her mid-greeting, demanding to speak with a manager. My worker calls my name and shakes the phone at me, so I grab it. Held it on my shoulder while I'm cutting and boxing pizzas as fast as the oven will give him to me in a busy pizza place on a busy night. Great! What pizza needs remade and where is it going? So I start my line. Thank you for choosing Pizza Hut. What seems to be the issue? I have been calling for 3 minutes. Short pause. Okay, what seems to be the issue? I have been calling for 3 minutes now, and I need... And she proceeds to tell me her order. It's for delivery. Okay, yada yada. Apologize for waiting 3 minutes. More standard stuff and we get to okay. Will you be paying cash or card? She says, I'm not paying. It's for free. Awkward silence. I'm sorry, but in order to get these pizzas, you will need to pay. No, I am not going to pay. I waited for 3 whole minutes. This is free, and those pizzas will be here in 45 minutes since you're so busy. And she hangs up. What the damn hell? Well, in my book, that's not a free order. We have an almost 2-hour backup of orders now because we literally cannot cook them any faster. First come, first serve. And I'm definitely not sending my driver out there. We country folk can be pretty damn crazy. I have no idea what to expect, but my bones can feel that this will not be the end of it. Well, the rest of the night goes pretty smoothly, all things considered. Business finally slowed, and we could take care of dishes and closing stuff. My bestie is actually one of my cooks, and at this point, it's just me and him in the store. I am closing down, doors are locked, and I'm counting down the till when I hear banging on a door. I look up and there is a woman just banging away on it. I gesture at my wrist and mouthing closed as I try to convey every way to simply say, get the hell out of here, I don't want to deal with you. Can't be that simple, eh? I tell my buddy to get on a line with non-emergency and let them know we might have a situation, while I point at the back. He gets the message and steps into the kitchen to call while I go try to figure out what her deal is. But I knew what her deal is and who she was. The only way to get words between us was to open that damn door. I didn't want to, but I'm the one in charge and I gotta figure out how to keep her from putting a rock through the glass. So with great hesitation, I unlock the door. She steamrolls through the door, literally knocking me down. And I'm a 250-pound guy. I was in shock. What the hell just happened? And why am I on the ground? By the time I get back to my feet, she's at the till demanding to speak with the manager. I take a few deep breaths, take a few extra seconds to slowly brush myself off, casually walk over and say, Hi, my name is Teza Ho. I'm the manager and we are closed. I must ask you to leave. Otherwise, I will have you escorted off the premises. Where is my pizzas? I'm sorry, what pizzas? I would be glad to help you, but unfortunately, we have been closed for like 40 minutes now. My pizzas, they were supposed to be delivered 4 hours ago. I'm not sure. Our driver confirmed that all orders were delivered, but unfortunately we are closed and there isn't anything I can do about this right now. Well, I want to speak to the manager. I am the manager and you need to leave the store. By this moment I can hear my buddy in the back working on getting those dishes cleaned. So, I know it won't be long because as slow and lazy as the cops are around here, when it's a business that needs help, you might as well be calling about a school shooter. I am trying to think what would be the best way to bide for time. And I'm glancing up the road and I see those god-awful LED headlights that only the PD vehicles have barreling towards us. No flashers, so that was a bit of a disappointment. I just keep repeating that we are closed and can't help you. And once the officers get out of the SUV, I motion them in. She's just yelling constantly about the injustice in the world and having to wait for her pizza while the officers casually walk up behind her. One of the officers goes, "Excuse me, ma'am," with some authority but not loud or rude. She just keeps ranting, not even hearing him. The other officer says, a bit louder, "Excuse me, ma'am." She yells, "What?" before she even turns around. As soon as she sees a badge, pure silence. Just dead quiet. I hear the dishes start juggling around in the back again and can't help but laugh inside knowing my buddy wants to see this. It's a bit fuzzy from here. She gets arrested after I explain the situation for disorderly conduct and also assault after the cops saw the footage from her barging in. She wasn't irritated anymore, but she just wouldn't drop the whole "you owe me a pizza" thing. The cop did have to seriously ask if she paid for the pizza, and I said no, she expected a free one. All in all, it caused me to get off about 15 minutes late, and she ended up in a cell overnight. I'd call that fair. It turned out she was drunk, and I did drop the charges for assault, but stated that she was pretty disorderly. And the dub was just a fine, I do believe. It fizzled out pretty fast and she actually did come back to apologize. However, the GM was there when she showed up, not me. Background. It's been a couple years since I worked at Walmart. I was an external hire, which means I was hired than an assistant manager with no prior Walmart experience. Over the years that I worked there, I worked the front end, electronics, toys, photo, and finally the new grocery home shopping, previously called Walmart to go. So I know the store and its employees and have a pretty good rapport with all of them. A customer walks up to me and is already huffy and red-faced. She's the type who probably should have grabbed one of our bad scooters because she's a sweaty mess just from lumbering over to me. We will call her Double S and me, well, we will call her Karen. She says, "You need to come with me. One of your boys isn't helping me at all." Huh? That doesn't sound good. Okay. It should be noted that I'm a no-nonsense type of manager. All I ask of my subordinates is to do your job the best you can, and I'll protect you from the rest of the nonsense. So most of my folks do their job and do it well while I'm there. So she takes me down a couple of aisles until she spots this guy, and you guessed it, tan shorts and a navy blue polo. This guy doesn't work for us, never has, and at this point all of our employees are supposed to be wearing the new smocks. We will call this guy Bob. There he is. Tell him to do his freaking job. This man, ma'am? Yeah, he's been a little jerk. Ma'am, don't swear at other customers. The fact that I just called Bob a customer doesn't even register with her. I'll do whatever the hell I want. I shop here all the time. You have to help me. Bob tells her, "Lady, I don't know who you are or who he is, but I told you I don't work here, and I don't have to help you at all. See? I want you to fire this jerk." At this point, other customers are looking on. I say, "Ma'am, he doesn't work for Walmart. He's not an employee here." Lies! You're just trying to cover for him. At this point, I am now calling for stop loss and a co-manager. I don't want this sweaty She-Hulk causing an even bigger scene. I say I don't know what else you want me to say, but I've got my manager coming here so that we can better assist you. My manager was great, she was firm but fun, and packed up good assistant managers like me. I don't remember exactly what all was said, but this woman goes ballistic because my manager confirmed that Bob doesn't work for us. She gets stop loss folks to escort this woman out and tells her that if she complies, they won't get the cops involved. And my manager asks me to help Bob take care of him, which is code for making sure he leaves happy and doesn't file a complaint. Code letters to the president against us. I take the guy to the service desk and give him a $25 gift card and personally ring up his items. Use a $25 gift card and he still has some money on a card left over. He's happy and we're joking about how the Karen clearly wasn't ready to face a day. As I'm walking back to where I normally work, I see that we've got two stop-loss employees, my manager and an officer, all circled around this woman who is now yelling at the entrance while she is lying down on the floor. A couple more officers arrive and they pick this woman up, cuff her, and put her in the back of the cop car. Back in the early 2000s, my mother, 40, female, worked as a cleaner for a couple places and took me, 13 male, with her to help. One place we worked for was the only real estate place in town. We cleaned up before the people who worked there got in. When I started there, it was small and somewhat dirty. Old smelly cubicle partitions and faded brown, off-color walls, ingrained dirt in a linoleum. We cleaned and I literally couldn't tell the difference after we were done, except the mirror in the washroom not having any spots on it and the floor being wet from the fresh mopping. Then the town started becoming a cottage town and it was decided that they will move to a nicer place. Cottagers might find the griminess a little off-putting. New place had a bit more space, brand new blue cubicle partitions, newly painted walls that still smelled the first day I cleaned there, and the cheap hardwood panel floor. That floor was a bit of a problem. See, before when we mopped, we would just leave the water to dry on the linoleum. We could do that because we got there at 6:30 and they opened at 7:30. The place was small enough that it was mopped by around 7 before we left and would be mostly dry by the time people arrived. If we did the same thing for this cheap wood floor, my mother was worried we would have water seep into the cracks between the wood panels and rot them. So a new method for mopping was devised. First I dunk the mop, then wring the mop lightly. Mop up, wring the mop again but fully this time, and then mop up as much of the excess water as possible. This new method actually visibly got a lot more water off the floor. By the time we left, some of the earlier mopped areas would look mostly dry. Good solution, Mom. Couple weeks into the new place, my mother gets contacted by the manager and a new order comes in that we are not to dry the floor. I asked if she explained why we dried it. She had. I found this order a bit baffling at the time, and it only occurred to me today the reason why he ordered this. The manager got in earlier than everyone else at about 7:15, so I actually saw him a few rare times when we ran late. The old floor would have still been visibly wet in the old place when he got in. The new floor was now dry when he got in. It must have been decided to skip mopping to leave early. Even though I didn't understand at the time that he thought we weren't doing our job, I of course found this new order stupid. I thought he wants the floors wet when he gets in? Fine. Cue malicious compliance. You see, I did the mopping while my mom cleaned the washroom because I was a young lad and she was mom. So I did what she said. I now had a standing order from the boss to leave the wet floor, and by gum, it was gonna be slopping. From that day forth, not only did I not dry the floor, I now didn't even wring the mop after dunking it. I dipped it in the water and just let the water slop off of the mop as I pulled it directly out of the bucket. There was no way this was gonna dry before he got in. Probably not for an hour after he got in either. 2 weeks after I started doing this, lo and behold, the wood paneling is already starting to separate at the seams. Dirt is accumulating between tiles. It proves impossible to remove. I was a bit shocked at the time at how fast that had happened. 4 weeks into the new mopping routine, the floor was rotting. Was my mother psychic or what? It was apparently very cheap fiberboard with a paper-thin plastic wood grain pattern on it. I would have guessed a laminate wood grain on top of semi-waterproof fiberboard if you'd asked me 4 weeks ago. The floor now had visible divots and lines where the plastic paper sank into the deteriorating wood underneath. These trapped dirt in them as well. How classy. The floor, not even 2 months after they had moved into the new place, was even worse than the old beat-up linoleum one. At this point, I asked my mother if we should start drying the floor. And wouldn't you know it, she had already asked. And the answer was no. Leave it wet. Baffling. We cleaned there for another month or so. I barely felt safe walking on the floor as it was now a tripping hazard with a warped parts popping up. It was also disintegrating. Splinters of wood would pop off every time I swept. The floor now had that dubious distinction of being the worst floor I had seen in a place that wasn't dilapidated. A while back, I worked as a business consultant, CPA, for young and startup companies. I was hired by a food delivery service client. Think Uber Eats type delivery with a primarily corporate clientele. After setting up the client systems for payroll, accounting, banking, but not order entry or billing, the owner installed a new state-of-the-art order entry/billing system. The new system seemed to work fine, but sales taxes charged to clients were noticeably low and seemed to use the same rate for all cities/suburbs and counties, even though each one had different additional rates over and above the base state rate. When brought to the attention of the owner, he insisted the new software company knew what they were doing and were experts in food delivery service billing. Later learned it was a small boutique firm from out of state with a very good salesperson. When I requested access to the system to check tax rates, I was told not to waste billable hours on a new system because he was certain they knew what they were doing. I was unwilling to pay my exorbitant hourly rate to check something that was brand new. I explained if the taxes being collected were wrong, his company would be liable for any shortfall, showing examples of taxes being underbilled were met with, "You don't know what you're talking about." As the business grew, my consulting hours dropped off, just reviewing month's-end financial information with a client after closing the books each month, while making the requisite deposits of collected sales tax to the State Department of Revenue, the malicious compliance. I had no control or access over the tax rates being billed, but I did know the state frequently scheduled audits of new companies after their first year of operations. If the client was unwilling to pay for a few hours to check the system, wait until it was necessary to pay for 40 billable hours to handle a state audit. And lo and behold, on the 13th month after installing the new software, a notice was received from the state announcing an audit of the client's sales and use tax payments was scheduled for the following week. To make a long story short, it was found that the new software did in fact only bill the base state sales tax rate, totaling omitting both city and county taxes. The assessment for unpaid taxes, including penalty and interest, exceeded $40,000, not including my hourly rate to work with the state auditors. More billable hours were spent by me going back to the larger corporate customers and billing them for unpaid sales tax, recovering almost half of the assessment. Most were willing to pay after my threat to report them to the state for non-payment of use tax. The client blamed me for not insisting more strongly on changing the tax rate, and terminated our relationship after it was felt as much as possible had been recovered from customers. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.